I'd like to welcome everybody to the Westside Computer Club. We'll have our open forum and then go into our presentation tonight by Bob, who is going to discuss mechanical keyboards. And with that, I'll open up the floor and say, are there any questions or problems people would like to pose to the group? Okay. I like that chair you're using there, Tom. Tom Soltis. I mean, not Tom O'Connor.
Chair?
Yeah, that chair. Let me see that chair you're sitting on, Tom. O'Connor.
This chair?
Yeah, it looks like a nice fancy chair. Is that comfortable?
Very comfortable. I
Very
figured
comfortable.
if I'm sitting all the time, I might as well have a good, comfortable chair.
I
gaming
kind of
chair.
agree with that one.
It's a gaming chair, and supposedly he doesn't even do gaming.
It doesn't need to be comfortable.
Well, I got it on sale quite a while ago.
What does that mean on sale?
I don't remember what I paid, but it wasn't over $70.
Now we're talking. That's a good price.
Yeah, I'm a cheap bum.
No, you're cost conscientious.
A penny pincher. How's that?
Penny pincher. I like penny pincher.
Thrifty.
Thrifty. A man on a budget.
Frugal.
Okay, so we've got no questions, no computer problems, right? All right, with that, I guess we could just go right into Bob's presentation. Bob, you think you're ready to do this, or? Wait, can't hear you, Bob. No sound. I think he was hoping for more people.
Any presenter wants more people.
This is true. Well, Bob is trying to do that, trying to get himself set up. I will share this. Let me show this one item that I saw just earlier today on a podcast, and I'll share this at the screen. This I did not know existed. These are miniature, well, because they're small, 3-key keyboards. They also make a double key one that's only has 2, and they're specifically programmed for copy, cut, and paste. And somebody like Tim, who's always doing copy, cut, and paste, you could have a key set up so you just hit it once and you're done. I think this was the one I saw, was on a podcast. It had only 2 keys, but they're lighted up, and you could change the color of the keys to be white or black. So you could change one to be copy and the other could be paste, a different color. And it was RGB. $13, pretty cheap. Oh, $11, I guess what you got a $2 off coupon. So this kind of goes along on the subject of keyboards. Of course, we always had that little cheat sheet that went over here in the corner that showed you that you could get, that shows you your reference guide for shortcuts for Word, Excel, or Windows itself. Thought that was a pretty interesting subject there.
Well, the cheat sheet would be nice, but I have no place to put it.
You hold it in your hand.
You could put it on your desk too. It doesn't have to be on the computer.
Well, I understand that. I could put it on the screen, but then I couldn't see through it.
They have ones that you could see through too.
Then I couldn't read it. So I could find a place for it, I'm sure.
think we lost Bob. Mr. Baxter, tell us what's going on in computer clubs out west.
You're muted.
There we go.
There I am. So we're having a spot of good weather. We're going to have rain through the weekend, mid 60s.
Okay.
As usual on some Thursday nights, I have to leave early because we have the leader of our Linux group is pretty aggressive. He's a professional. He works at the hospital as a Linux person for some of their systems. And in addition to having a monthly meeting where we talk generalized things about Linux, we're doing some workshops twice a month. And through one of those workshops, I have built, as I think I've mentioned before, with a lot of help, I have built a pair of Proxmox servers, and I have moved my old HP Windows 2012 server system with a bunch of my files over to that system. One system provides that to my PCs and other devices, and the other one runs a snapshot backup of things. So, so we'll be meeting at 7 o'clock tonight, our time, which will be 9 o'clock your time, so you'll all be tucked into
So
bed. But
does your Linux system automatically back up your other machines? Your Windows machines?
no, that's a separate step.
Okay.
Are any of you familiar with Ashampoo?
I've
They're out
heard,
of Europe. They have a lot of software, and they have, for about $20, you can buy a package, which sometimes it'll be for 3 machines, sometimes it's just one. And it backs up my primary machines to an attached USB drive. It's not great. It's not doing all 3 levels, but it gives me that. Most of my important data, I save it on the server. And the server, the Proxmox server, has a routine which does an image, what do they call it, a snapshot of changes to the backup device. I still am working on getting it off-site. We're going to start looking at it's host, the letter Y, HOST. It's a presentation that gives you a bunch of tools that can help you manage features like my server works great in the house, but I can't get to it from outside. But we'll get to that in the next month or so.
so wait, what server are you running, or what software in Linux?
Let's see. The server is set up with Proxmox, and it builds virtual machines, which are running Manjaro, because our guy likes that. What I've read and what I've seen of it, it does seem to be pretty good. But I'm still a novice. I'm still learning. We use TruNass to get access to it from other machines on my network.
So do you like this setup equal as Windows Server 2012?
A qualified yes. It works. I like it. I'm more comfortable with Windows Server, but that was 2012, which is, I think it's still supported, but the machine was 2012, so its days were coming. The machines I'm running it on now are bigger Dells that one of the school districts does an auction once or twice a year to get rid of some of the surplus equipment. And I bought 2 of those for $25 each. So one of them worked great. The other one I had to buy memory for because somebody robbed the memory out of it before they put it in the sale.
They take the memory out of them?
So somebody got the memory out of this one before.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Yeah.
Somebody cannibalized it.
I think they use those machines in this school district for some classes on doing more advanced things. And somebody may have had it at home and didn't return everything. I don't know. There's no return, but for 25 bucks, hey, win some, lose some.
Yeah,
I spent 75 bucks on, I forget, 16 gigs of storage.
and does this system do like redundancy, or is it does it mirror the drives?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't use any RAID. One computer has my main file set on it, and the other computer has a copy of that, but the main computer does snapshots of everything that changed in the last hour over to the secondary machine.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, if something happens, I have a way to get to it.
Okay.
Now, I periodically make an external copy of that and put it in a safety deposit box.
How much hard drive space are you managing on those?
So those two servers have a 1 terabyte SSD, and then I happen to have some older 4 terabyte hard disks, HDDs, and one each in those machines. So there are 2 hard drives. One's an SSD, which has got the OS on it, and the data is on the HDD.
Okay. And is that enough storage for you?
It's enough storage, yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm using more than half of it on the main machine.
We can now, I guess Bob is ready. Waiting for Bob. Bob? I know you said you were ready.
Yeah, but he didn't say what day or time.
This is true. Maybe he's not ready. Ah,
There he is.
there he is, but he's mute up. He said 1 minute, but we had no audio there.
Hmm. Well, once in a while I hear Zoom when it updates might change your speaker and microphone settings along with the camera. So periodically you got to go out to your settings and check what your speakers are set to, your webcam mic and your webcam camera are set to. By the way, Bob Baxter, are you using ECC memory on those servers?
I know for sure on one of them. The other one, I'm using the memory that came with it when I got it, and I haven't bothered to upgrade it.
Well, the reason they usually have ECC on the memory is it's self-correcting on problems versus standard desktop type memory.
Understand?
Isn't it ECC error correcting?
Yeah. On servers. But now, let's put it this way. There's server class machines and there's regular desktop PCs being used as a server. And it sounds like he has real servers. Those usually can handle either ECC or regular desktop memory. But usually in servers, you want the ECC for self-correcting of parity errors.
Right. Who'd we lose? Oh, Harry was coming in. Then he fell out.
I still see him.
Oh, he's there. Oh, wait, no, Bob, we lost one session with Bob.
Yeah, but something tells me he's rebooting.
Yes, that sounds like a thing. He's having some technical issues. There we go. So somebody was asking me about a preference of a device to use for doing home videos. They thought maybe they should go get a GoPro, and I didn't know if a GoPro was a good option. I'd suggested just use their cell phone, but they said their cell phones are too old, 5 years old, and I'm like, well, that's not that old a phone to use for making videos. So anyone have some suggestions?
Well, the only other thing I can think of would be something like DSLRs. Most of them can, besides taking snapshots, take video also.
Okay, but that'd be pretty pricey to get into a DSLR.
No, there's lots of them that are not that bad. It depends on their pocket, like anything. But a lot of those are, you don't go the high end. You don't have to. I've got ones that are 10 years old that can do what they're talking about.
I've had a lot of luck using older Sony camcorders.
Yeah, me too. I like the old Sony camcorders. That's what I have.
I don't do as much video as I used to. I used to do a lot of videos at church when we had special ceremonies and whatnot. But everybody and their brothers out there with their iPhone,
Mhm.
not worth the competition. It's a lot of work to make a finished product out of that stuff.
It is.
The other thing would be tablets. A lot of tablets are used also for taking videos.
Hmm. That was a suggestion I could throw by this gentleman too and see if he wants to use a tablet.
They're right now suggesting not to take a bite on Apple's iPads right now because new ones are coming out soon, and therefore there may be a price adjustment down.
On the older ones, it would be.
Right. That's why they're saying hold your powder until later.
Personally, I like the feel of the camcorder. And you can hold it in one hand, you can mount it on a tripod. I've seen people doing it with an iPad, and it's looks kind of awkward. You got to use both hands almost to hold it and moving it around, and yeah.
I agree with you about using the iPad or a tablet for taking pictures and videos. I've been on vacations or like years ago when I went on a cruise and I'm watching people with their iPads and video and taking pictures. It's just like just so wrong.
Be mindful.
A remote.
They come in different sizes. There's also phablets. Phablets are phones that are very large size that make them akin to a mini lap tablet.
Okay. Bob's got his hand up. I think he's ready. We still can't hear you, Bob. No audio. You know what? It could be that darn Intel driver update. No. Can you switch over to your other? No, you can't switch over to the other.
Your Zoom setting for the microphone.
Yeah, check your Zoom setting for the microphone. Make sure you go to test on there.
I don't know if he heard us or not.
Tell him to get rid of that secondary sign-in that he's got.
Rebooting.
That shouldn't have no.
Secondary one is on a different machine and it's
Right.
for this presentation.
Right, and that should not affect anything.
Nobody's gonna speak through the other, one he's, muted on.
Audio failed. He's rebooting again. Okay.
Uh, at any rate,
So, Mr. Baxter, you only do the Linux part of that group, or do you participate in other chapters or clubs?
So I'm on the board. I'm the secretary treasurer. I attend most meetings. Um, we morphed from an older group that was around for 20 years, and we felt it was important to have a 501c3 classification. So it's easier to start a new group than to change your licensing. So the board of the old group, which I was on, voted, and we voted unanimously. And then we closed that meeting and opened a new one and said, hey, here is K.E.G.S. Computer
Okay.
Enthusiasts of Greater Seattle, computer spelled with a K, just so we could get a cute name.
So, but what do you guys do in this other groups or your groups?
Well, we used to have a strong group on Windows, but some of our Windows people are not up to doing that anymore. So that group's kind of gone asleep. We have a general meeting once a month. We have an arrangement with one of the community centers where we get space. We don't pay for that, but we do favors for them and maintain some equipment for them and help them out in other ways. The general meeting that we have next Tuesday, we do a variety of things. Sometimes we use APC things. Sometimes we have people in our group who will do a presentation, and it covers most anything to do with computing. Then we have a group that specializes on digital imaging, and they do a lot of talking about. They have a topic, and people try to present pictures relative to that topic, and talk about how they did them. And some of them are old pictures, some of them are new pictures. So it's interesting. I'm a little disappointed that they don't get into more of the technology of the tools you use and how you make the changes to pictures. We used to have, I manage membership. We make membership cards for our members, and our current next new person who joins will have a member number of something like 560. So over 25 years, we've had quite a few people. We used to hold a meeting with 100 to 150 people, and we'd have WordPerfect people come in and Microsoft people come in and do a kind of play off against their packages.
Those were the days.
Those were the days.
Those
Now
were
you
the
can't get
days.
anybody to come for anything.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think, Tim, what was our maximum number of people we had in society?
that's debatable, but I think I remember either 3,200 or 3,500 people, but some said it was less than that. And at the same time, too, we're way down.
Well, yeah. We're nowhere close to what we used to be, just like, Bob Baxter's.
Wasn't there mainly DOS, Jim, the 3200 or whatever? Which the IRS still uses. That's their main software is DOS too, so. Yeah, imagine.
Can we do an audio check?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Okay,
got
that was just wrong button on my headset. But now I have to log in the other me.
Okay.
So continue what you're doing.
Okay. Operator error. I like that. We often have that situation on all of our cases.
Are you referring to me?
I'm referring to everybody. We all have operator errors. I mean, I did the
Yeah.
same thing. I had an operator error not long ago, and I was like, oops. Well, in the beginning, operator error. I had to reboot my computer after I started this session. But
Hmm.
I gotta do rebooting with the Wi-Fi or whatever. You know, sometimes you gotta 2 or 3 times to get it to eventually connect or whatever.
Well, that's strange. You shouldn't have that kind of a problem.
Yeah, well, I do.
Periodically you have,
Well, I have an older computer. I think, you know, I mean, somebody said if you know,
Terry,
probably as old as me.
Terry,
Yeah.
periodically, like about once every couple weeks, you need to unplug your router and plug it back in after about a half a minute to a minute. Don't plug it in right away. It has to discharge internal devices. And then when you start it back up, it'll take 3 to 5 minutes for it to completely boot up. And the reason is your router modem is really a computer. And periodically, it's got to be restarted just like a regular computer.
Thank you.
Well, they are essentially computers.
Yeah, they're real low end, low power computers, but
Which is
they're
why you had to reboot them.
very small OS and limited on what they're expected to do.
Ah, he's coming in on his Nook.
There he's. Okay. Okay.
All right. So, shall we get started? First of all, how many people in the group have ever considered mechanical keyboards or owned one? Everybody?
Well, what's the difference on a mechanical versus a regular?
That's what we're about to find out.
Okay, I mean, yes,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah. So there are various kinds of keyboards. There are the membrane keyboards, mechanical keyboards, and there are other types of keyboards which are specialized. And I think I might be able to get a slideshow out of this. Just a minute. There we are.
Move your mouse.
Most
There you go.
most QWERTY computer keyboards use I want to get you guys out of my way. So I think, yeah, that'll do. All right. Anyway, most QWERTY keyboards use a single rubber-like membrane underneath the keys that makes a contact with a circuit board when the key is fully depressed. They're also called a dome switch keyboard. This style is found on many types of keypads. There's less tactile sensation from membrane keyboards than there is when individual key switches are used. Now, I think I want to do an illustration if I can, which is going to be, this is what a membrane keyboard is doing. I'm probably not sharing my whole screen.
No.
Just a moment while I get Zoom up for that. Oh, you guys. I'm going to stop that share and do a share of the whole screen, which is that. Okay, now you should be able to see this. So we have the membrane keyboard, and this is just an illustration of how they work. I also do have somewhere in this same illustration, I should have parts of a membrane keyboard. Yes, the membrane keyboard will typically have these various parts, which feature a top membrane, a bottom membrane with a spacer, and there will be some sort of sometimes a back plate, sometimes not. The better ones have back plates, which gives a better feel to the keys. They're more responsive. The overlay is basically what you feel as keys, but they're usually pretty low profile. So now if I can get back to here, and this is getting in my way from the top. Is there a keyboard shortcut for getting to the slideshow in LibreOffice Impress? Because I have something directly in my way. Wait a minute, I think I'll do it this way. Okay, start from current slide. There we go. And so you've seen what these are. The dome switches the switches are actually what's underneath the keys in one of those layers. The membrane is sculpted with a raised dome for each key. It's a keyboard that tolerates dirt, it tolerates spillage that would otherwise cause a regular keyboard to fail. Membrane keyboards use a flexible plastic sheet, which I showed you, printed with the key pattern on top, and there's an electrically conductive ink on the underside. When a key is pressed, it pushes the top layer down through a spacer layer of holes and makes contact with the circuit at the bottom. So it's widely used in self-service applications like kiosks, ATMs, etc. It's also useful when you need something that's quiet, and I'll get to comparisons a little bit later. So the advantages, it's just plain flat. The membrane keys occupy very little space compared with traditional keys on keyboards and keypads. I have a membrane keyboard, which is a Red Dragon Karura 2 membrane keyboard. And I'm not going to try to pull that up right now, but at the end I can definitely pull up what I've got. So for me, it's quiet for meetings and for night use in my apartment. And however, it can be inaccurate for typing, I find. People who touch type don't often like this kind of a keyboard. It may allow some gamers to slide over the keys more easily, although there hasn't been much call for that. And it's the only option for many laptops, including a sort of a subset of membrane keyboards, which are chiclet keyboards. And there are some references. I'll post my a PDF version of my slides into chat so you can follow all of these various articles which explain more of the details, especially about things like what's the difference between a chiclet versus a regular membrane versus all these other kinds of subsets of them. So mechanical versus chiclet. The mechanical keyboards are incredibly popular, but do you actually need one? Or would a quieter chiclet design suit your needs better? Well, mechanical keyboards are keyboards that use mechanical spring-activated switches. The key is activated when it's pressed beyond a certain threshold. Mechanical keyboards are not a recent invention, having been invented in the 1700s. However, they were especially popular in the late 1990s with the older pre-graphical versions of Windows and Apple. And then they sort of fell in popularity. Since about the mid-2010s, I think, they've had a resurgence in popularity because some people do prefer how they feel and how they function. Mechanical keyboards are generally more expensive, often as much as twice as expensive, and the keys are often much louder, which is why I don't use one in meetings. They're louder when pressed, but they do provide a better experience. They provide the tactile key feedback. Now, the chiclet keyboards are known as an island style, and they're similar to membrane keyboards in operation, but they offer more tactile feedback than a membrane, not as much as a mechanical keyboard. Chiclet keyboards are quite popular and are found on most notebooks and laptops, so that's what's going to be built in. Unless you add your own, that's what you got. The name comes from the similarity to the Cadbury Adams popular chewing gum brand, Chiclet. So there's another reference about why you might want it. There are There are advantages and disadvantages to weight in a keyboard. If a keyboard has a certain amount of weight, it will have a certain solid feel to it. However, that makes it a whole lot less portable, and you wouldn't want to be carrying one. You might not want to be carrying one with you. You can do a lot of customization. Some mechanical keyboards, you can replace the keys themselves or the switches that are underneath them and give them a different feel or a different sound, or make them quieter or louder, or whatever your preference may be. Others, such as mine, which is another Red Dragon brand, mine, the switches are soldered, so it'll be really a problem to try to swap them out. They're not hot swappable, as it is called. But there are some targeted groups who like to use them, including many gamers. Although gamers have another type that they use, which I'm not going to go into very much, which uses something called the Hall effect. I'll just touch on that if there are any questions about it. Gamers usually prefer mechanical keyboards as they are more durable and they offer more consistent operation. Also, mechanical keyboards are more likely to have what's called N-key rollover. You can press as many as 6 keys at a time and get a single character or a single action. And mechanical keyboards have a definite feel for when you are actuating the key, which means you don't get ghosting. Ghosting is where you skip a character. And if you're a gamer and you skip one of the pieces of a 6-key macro, you're doing something completely different from what you intended. And if you're just a typist, you will probably want some consistency and some positive feedback so that you don't miss characters when you're typing really fast. Multiple keys can be pressed simultaneously without what I just said, ghosting, and that can be advantageous for gamers. Many users report that a mechanical keyboard offers a better typing experience. It's more similar to the old-fashioned keyboards that many people learned on, but it does depend on the keyboard's quality and the user's preferences. So in terms of price, mechanical keyboards, especially better ones, tend to be over 100, and membrane keyboards are often half that price, depending on the quality of the internal mechanisms and the keycaps. Mine was about $40 to $50, and it's a pretty good one. You can get less expensive ones. Chiclet keyboards basically cost nothing because they often come with the device. So I have a reference article about why mechanical keyboards tend to feel better to experienced typists than the membrane keyboards. And I touched upon some of the reasons. So let's skip down to, there are some reference articles about details of how these various keyboards work. Now, if I am successful, I can show some more illustrations. And I'm going to just do one of these. This is how a chiclet keyboard works compared with, I think I still have that membrane keyboard down there. You notice the membrane keyboard is more of a continuous membrane. This can lead to some inaccuracies in where exactly the switch will be actuated. You may actually miss the switch sometimes because of a little bit of drift that develops, especially over time with some of these membranes. And chiclets do a lot less of that. They're much more likely to be stable in their position, and they go straight down. There's more of a chance you're really going to hit that switch straight on. I think, yeah. Now this is a mechanical keyboard with its keycaps, its switches, its top case, plate. Sound absorbing foam is often a feature. It does quiet them some, but it doesn't eliminate all the sound. Not enough for meetings in my experience. And then there will be the bottom case, but it's the switches and the contacts that they make in the PCB, the printed circuit board. That's what's going to actually print the characters or make things happen. And that's what has to happen with precision if you're really going to please people who are willing to pay enough for a mechanical keyboard. So this was one of the articles, and this was, just want to make sure I showed you everything I wanted to show you on those. Okay, so back to my slideshow. Slideshow from current slide. What number am I on now? Well, we're going to do, okay. All right. I'm mechanical keyboards and how they work. I've already shown some things about that. There are many things that, switch selection. If you want a certain feel and a certain sound or tactile and auditory feedback, you might want to consider what kinds of switches you want, especially if they're soldered in, because you're making a one-time decision. So I had to choose what I wanted. Mine are similar to the Cherry Red, but they're from a different, less expensive brand. And that brings down the cost of my keyboard from like about 200 to under 100. I think I may have paid 60 or 70, but that was kind of an Amazon discount. I said there are some gamers who prefer what's known as Hall effect. That's purely electromagnetic, which means the key actually slides and you can adjust where exactly in that slide it's going to actuate. For a gamer, that's important. For a touch typist or for us, us ordinary folks, unless there are gamers among us, not really that much of a consideration. These things can cost hundreds of dollars or more per keyboard. And they require quite a bit of maintenance sometimes too. And so there are quite a things. I just want to mention for a little while, some of the older classic designs are also making a comeback. There were buckling spring keyboards, which actually, as the name implies, they had a spring inside that would buckle downward. It would bend as you press the key down, and it would snap back, and it would give that kind of a tactile feedback. And there were various models, including the old Model M that some people may remember, etc. I was going to showcase my keyboards, but I don't think I can get that particular webcam to do what I want tonight. So I will see if I can find something online if people want me to do that. And I had some criteria about key press feel. The red switches that I've got are a compromise between clicky keys and silent keys. They have a good mechanical feel and sound, but not excessively loud, except for meetings. The price, I don't need a professional quality keyboard. I'm not a really fast typist, so I went with something not quite as fancy. I have colored LEDs and I'm able to change the colors on them. So I can create zones. The QWERTY keys for the letters, the top keys for the functions, the next down keys for the numbers, the numeric keypad, they're all different colors. And that makes it very quick to just glance down and see, okay, this is where I need to be. And again, that's because I'm not exactly a touch typist. And then I have some specs which I had there. So I think that is, in a nutshell, just about my Ed Keating length presentation. And I am going to I'm going to see if I can get you guys back enough to stop my share. All right. And what I am also going to do now, you guys were able to see all of that presentation. I could see that. So any questions? Did I mess up in trying to show something?
Well, the only question I would have is how do we know what we have?
Okay. If what you have, I may be able to webcam this in, I may not. I want to show you from the top, if I can steady my webcam enough, I may be able to switch cameras. and go to this guy. It may not work because of, all right. It's going to do one of those to me again, so just a minute. Maybe I can do it that way. No, Zoom isn't going to want me doing that. Okay, well, now Zoom isn't going to let me do any video. All right, so
How
let me
nice.
get over here. What I am going to have to see if I can do is share an image of basically not components, just okay. Zoom. Now share screen. All right. Now, the thing I want to show about a membrane keyboard is, let's see if I can open. Okay. Basically, these keys would have a flat profile or nearly flat on most membrane keyboards. And the keys are not on a membrane keyboard are not truly separate from each other unless it's a chiclet type. The other thing is you can look up the specs from the name and the model of it, the brand and model. But generally a mechanical keyboard, I can probably bring something up on that. On a mechanical keyboard, image. The keys will usually be raised, and the keys have significant travel. And the other thing is, you probably will have bought a mechanical keyboard specifically if you have one. It's not likely to be something that was supplied with your device, because almost all of the ones you see with new computers and all the ones that are on laptops or anything else will either be chiclet or they will be membrane. I may be able to get a better picture for you. And this picture also shows that there will be a considerable profile to the keys on most mechanical keyboards. That's not going to be true of a membrane keyboard, generally. Well, it won't be. So let me stop that share. Anything else? Did I answer your question, Tom?
I think so. It's not a mechanical, it did come with the machine.
Yeah, it's likely a membrane or chiclet.
Yeah, I can show it. It's battery operated. It's not connected, so I could show it to you, but
Well, if you did, you'd probably know that I would know what kind it is, probably. Anyway, so
if you'd like, I
anything?
can show it, but
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that looks very much like a typical membrane keyboard. If it were a mechanical keyboard, those keys would be higher, and you would be able to hear them when you type on a mechanical keyboard. In other words, there might be some sound on a membrane keyboard, but there's not much.
Oh, there's no sound to this.
Yeah, those quiet keyboards, I don't think you can get a mechanical keyboard that is truly that quiet, or you might be able to, but they're expensive. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
yeah,
So if I remember correctly, early computers, early, like
Yeah.
1980s, 90s,
Yeah.
they were generally all mechanical keyboards.
yes, they tended to be either the spring type or a scissor type was another one,
Mhm.
and there were some others. There were some very interesting designs back then too.
So that was based because that was the technology of the day, and that since then they've learned how to make them cheaper, better, faster.
Yeah, it is cheaper to make a membrane keyboard.
Mhm.
And the other thing, I'm not trying to be cynical about this, but they tend to need to be replaced more often.
Mechanically,
Although, no, the membrane. Mechanical keyboards, you can replace parts, they can be serviced, but in general, they're made solid, and they don't necessarily need to be replaced. The whole keyboard doesn't need to be replaced as often. So, anything else?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Not that I need to go out and buy one or would like to buy one, but do they have something that would be like uh, just a completely flat keyboard, like you'd have like you can touch the screen of a PC or a laptop? Would they have a?
Yeah, there is a specific type of keyboard, and I think one of my references does make mention of it, but there's a specific type of keyboard that is just like a touch screen.
Yeah.
And I forget what they call them, but it is somewhere in my slides about that.
Okay, I'm
Just
just
a
interested
moment.
if they make them. Not that I'll go out and buy one. I'm just if they make something like this.
Well, they're not inexpensive. I know that.
Bob Baxter has got a question.
Yeah.
You're muted, Bob.
I'm sorry, I hit a key by mistake. I don't have a question.
Oh, you had a hand up, so, okay.
Yeah,
You know,
And
back in the
I know you're gonna be
90s,
leaving shortly, so Bob will say ta-ta when you.
Yeah.
And thanks for attending. Go back, it's back to you, Bob.
back in the 90s, I used to buy from a distributor. And those keyboards cost me $2.
Yeah.
Just plain. And I tell you, and they lasted. They lasted a long time. It was amazing. That you could make something like that, ship it from China, and they sell it for that price.
Yeah. Now those kinds of keyboards would sell for a higher price, I would think, because there aren't that many left.
Well, like I said, this is back in the 90s.
That mechanical keyboard that you're showing looks a lot like what I had in college for a punch card machine.
Anybody here worked on the old teletype machines?
Ooh. Ooh.
Boy, those were fun. Those keyboards were fun sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I had some bad outings with those once in a while.
Most of the electric typewriters were mechanical keyboards for the most part.
Especially the IBM Selectrics.
Yeah, that's one, but even some of the cheaper ones, some of the small portable electrics that they had out had mechanical keyboards that were built onto them.
Yeah, the kind of keyboard, there are digital or virtual keyboards. And I don't think there are very many that are actually sold as separate keyboards. They're usually part of a device.
Anyone else got any questions for Bob? Bob, thank you for doing the presentation. We really appreciate that. You did a great job. And I could see everybody running out to go buy the new keyboard next week.
Yeah.
Bob, why did you go with the mechanical?
I wanted a keyboard that had a feel that would be a nice touch, but I also wanted something where in a darkened room I'd be able to see the keys. And the lighted LED keys, there were two options. Either I could get a membrane type keyboard, which I did not really like the way they felt. I didn't think I could accurately determine where the keys were just by touch. And that led me to a mechanical keyboard.
Okay.
I then, for meetings, people kept complaining that it was clicky clacky, so I had to go with the membrane for that.
So during the meetings now, you're using a membrane style?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Because I was going to say, we don't hear you clickety clackety.
not anymore because I do have this other keyboard now that is a membrane keyboard.
Okay.
If I were functioning a little better today, I would be able to show you all these things. I have previously, in previous meetings, shown both of my keyboards.
And you still have a preference?
Like I say, if I'm doing any kind of extended typing or work, I would rather be doing it on a mechanical keyboard because I'm apt not to make as many typos. I'm not going to miss as many characters, and I'm not going to have as many doubled characters and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Less editing.
Well, we'll be looking for that next book that you're going to be publishing.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Let me see what I can get by way of my document for chat. And I'm going to put two forms of it in chat, one of which is going to be slides, one of which is going to be PDF. So let me copy those to my desktop so it's easier to put in chat. There they are. Now let's get chat and file. I think I wanted to go with file. Yeah. And your computer and desktop and one open and upload and two desktop and which one have I got so far? I've got the PDF and I want to do the slideshow. Okay, there it is. So there. That slideshow, by the way, is in the LibreOffice format, but it should work in Microsoft Office. There was a time I wouldn't have been able to say that. Is that aimed at me, Tom? Question?
Yeah, it is. You mentioned that you were able to change the function key color and the key colors for the numerics.
Yeah.
Was that because of a particular keyboard style, or could I do it on some of my keyboards?
This particular one has its own internal logic chip. It has a little bit of memory, and it will retain settings. And if I hit the function key and the tilde key, or the function and the escape at the same time, it'll vary between different keyboards. But there's a couple of keys that you hit, and then you cycle using your arrow keys, and then you select using the function and whichever key you want to target. So it'd be function P if I wanted to change the P key's color, or function plus F9 if I wanted to change the color of the F9 key.
Okay.
So that's one way. Sometimes there are drivers and there is software, but that isn't always, it doesn't always work in Linux, and it won't retain a configuration file for Linux. And I do Linux a lot.
Yeah, and I have only one mechanical keyboard. The rest are membrane type keyboards. But on mine, you get a flash drive with it that allows you to program your keyboard the way you want it, both what each keystroke is going to be as a character, but also the colors of the LEDs behind the keys.
LEDs being LEDs.
Thank you.
Yeah. So sorry about the technical issues, but I think we got this.
No problem. Thank you very much for putting on that presentation.
Yeah.
Well, do we have any other topics we'd like to cover tonight? Anyone? We had some late arrivals. Did they have any questions they'd like to pose to the group? Jim, Harry? Nada.
I
Harry,
ran across an article about M2 hard drives that are available, and was kind of interesting, but just one of the highlights was the fact if you have the capability of plugging it into your motherboard, and they even have fans on them to keep them warm, but the size of them and the speed of them was kind of unreal. Talking about 5 terabyte, and the speeds were probably 4 or 5 times what anything else that I've read about.
Yeah, but the problem is with machines, you have PCI standards. And starting with PCI 4, you might need at least a heat sink and a little bit of draft from fans. Once you go into PCI 5 or higher, some of them actually need liquid cooling, kind of like a graphics card or a CPU. Even
Yeah,
some
it mentioned that, but one of them actually had 2 fans on it. That mentioned that one of the features you had to find was a 4-pin block to be able to plug the fans in, so it kept it cool.
Yes, and I have several regular size boards, memory board, motherboards, and I have M.2s, at least 1 to 3 on each of the motherboards, and I don't use any SATA drives, at least not so far. I might add spinning hard drives for storage type deals for like archiving old material.
Harry, do you have a machine you could plug an M.2 in? Or are you looking to build?
Probably not. The only thing I've got, the only newer machine that would even have the capability is an all-in-one, and I'd have to get inside it to find that, but probably not going to do that. I just thought it was interesting, and if I was going to build another machine, I'm not sure whether you could use it with a NUC.
Yeah, most NUCs do, but they don't have the format of 2280 or 22110. They usually are 2230, 2242. You might find a few that also handle 2260 formats. And all that numbering means is millimeters in width and millimeters in length. And I did a presentation for the South Side years ago for Al Cheeksnet. basically an M.2 drive is like a stick of chewing gum or a partial stick of chewing gum, depending on what size length you have.
I believe my laptop actually has a M.2.
Right now, I don't have any laptops with M.2 because I don't have anything fairly new. They all use the 2.5-inch laptop style drive, SATA only. But in M.2, almost all of mine are NVMe, either PCI 3 or PCI 4. And I'm not sure I'm in any hurry to go to newer machines where you'd be having a PCI 5 or higher standard because of the potential speed increases the heat generated by them. And if you don't have proper cooling, you'll burn the darn things out real quick.
Well, wouldn't that be up to the manufacturer to design a machine that doesn't overheat like that?
No, it depends on whether you're buying a off-the-shelf machine or you're buying parts to build your own machine, like Harry was talking about, and I've done.
Okay.
They were referencing using these in particular with some of the new AMD chips that were out.
Yeah. I don't have the newest stuff, but I have 2000 series and 3000 series. I don't have 4, 5, 6, 7, or the new 8.
Thanks, guys. This is Bob. I'm going to have to run.
Hey,
Thanks for
Bob,
letting you.
thanks for attending.
Take care, Bob.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Bob.
You're welcome.
Well, Sanford, I also have those other things that I mentioned before you let people in.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Let's see here. If I can find what I'm looking for, that'll be a first. I think that's the one I want. I hope it is. Yeah. Okay. Amazing that I actually found the right one. Okay. I'm just trying to move things over a little bit so that it can be easier to see. But you son of a gun. All right. All right, anyway, let's see how this works out. I was mining articles recently, and I came across basically 2 topics, but I'm going to get to this one first because I thought it was something that some people might be interested in this. Scores of people are downgrading back to 10, meaning they're on 11, and they probably hear stories about 24H2 that may not work on everybody's computer. I think some of them may be uninformed or misinformed as to what will and what will not work. And that's because the picture, figuratively speaking, is a little blurry right now. Basically speaking, I have 2 ancient machines in front of me that I usually use in the meetings for recording the meetings. And they're over 15 years old. One of them is Intel based. It will not support 24H2. But just because if I loaded on 24H2, it would stop booting up the computer. That doesn't break the computer. That just means that version of the operating system is no longer usable on the system. You can then reload Windows 10. You can load in Linux. And if you're nutty enough to try it, you can do Hackintosh. But in any case, that's the big piece there. The other piece is if you got a label on your computer that says Intel Core, but does not follow it with a 2, you have a chance of it working with 24H2 and beyond. The reason is there is a microcode that Microsoft is going to check in your CPU. There is no workaround so far known that would ever work to get around that. And it's called POPCNT. And this was developed over 60 years ago, but wasn't put in chips until about 2008 or 9. Now, the other machine I've got, the internal drive is Windows 10. It runs real slow. I have plugged in externally a drive through USB 2 ports running Windows 11 unsupported. And it runs a lot faster. That machine will accept and continue running 24H2, even though it is an AMD Phonom 2 chip circa 2007 or 8. It has the instruction in it. Some guy made a program to check your CPU chip for this instruction. The only problem is he doesn't give you executables. You have to get the source code, download that. You have to add a couple other files, and you have to compile your own. He designed it for Linux-based systems. I don't know if I can make an executable. I only found out about this yesterday, and so I have not had time, and I have to get other things accomplished at the same time. But I'll be working on trying to get that program to work and see if I can make it work on a Windows system. It's written in the C language. If it works, then I could distribute executable, but as is, if I can't make a Windows version, I have to create a bootable Linux drive with provisioning, which means extra blank space, and I would have to put the executable on that drive, plug it into a machine, boot up off of the flash drive Linux, and then execute that program in that empty space. So I don't know how things are going to work out yet, but I thought I would bring this to your attention. I think a lot of people are panicking right now, but also too, it tells you in the article here that basically, though 7 is still out there and in quite a bit of use, you have here in Windows 11, I'm looking for it right now. I missed where it was at. Oh, here it is up at the top. Originally, the high for Windows 11 adoption was 28.6 in February of this year. With the people who are panicking and going back to 10 because they don't think their system will run the 24H2, and they're probably worried that it runs their system, which it doesn't. It just says, I'm not going to let you load up 1124H2. It only dropped from 28.16 down to 26% so far. But they relate this as being many millions of people downgrading their computer. So I thought it was interesting, and I thought I'd bring this to your attention. Any questions or comments that I might be able to answer? Okay. Aside from that, I have another 3 article, actually 2 articles and an extra. This is something I just found out about, but it's been around since sometime last year. Somebody created a new browser called the Arc browser. It's available now on 11. It was originally written in an Apple programming language and was available on the Macintosh last year. And they finally ported it over to Windows 11. I have downloaded it and installed it on one machine, but at the moment, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. If you can see down here at the bottom where my cursor pointer is at, there's a strange looking icon next to Zoom. I'm going to launch that. This comes up, and right now I don't want to create a sign-in for it syncing your settings and other things up to their account. And I haven't found a way around it yet, so I'm not worried about it. So right now, I'm not doing anything with this browser, but I found it to be a case where they say Arc browser, dubbed the future of browsing, arrives on 11. It offers a clean UI user interface and superior tab management compared to Chrome and Edge. Developed with Swift, which is the programming language heavily used on Apple systems. Arc aims to become the operating system for the internet. And I can tell you right now that this particular browser, it is based on Chromium, which is the foundation of Chrome, which is a highly advanced version of Chromium with special features that Chromium does not have. The other is that they took the source code of Chromium, redid it, I guess, in the Fluent, Swift programming language to come up with a new browser executable. It's an excellent customizable browser. This generally gives you an idea what it looks like. Instead of having tabs along the top like we're used to, they're using vertical tabs, which Edge browser can also have, instead of the horizontal tabs at the top or bottom. But you can change that around a great deal. So I also went out to their site. This is their website. It's arc.net. is the URL. And it gives you a little bit of what's going on. You can download for 11 or for a Mac. And basically, think of this as an ad, but at least it gives you some clue of what this browser may look like and what it might do for you as an individual. I always have multiple browsers anyhow, because sometimes you run into problems. And one of the first things you do is check out a site that looks strange on the other browsers. So this is gives you some idea of what this browser might be like in case some of you want to take a shot at it. I don't know if this thing would work on 10. I have no way of knowing at the moment. Like I said, I just got the thing, so the only thing I can do is copy the executable for installation off and try it out on a Windows 10 system to see if it'll work or not. There's a outside chance, but it depends upon what this thing is relying upon that's in 11 that is not in 10. And that could be .NET, I'm not sure. So versions of .NET do vary between 10 and 11. Sometimes they're in sync and sometimes they're out of sync. That's the main thing I wanted to present. Any questions? Okay,
I have one question.
not allowed.
Is there going to be some point in which Microsoft is going to discontinue giving us the free upgrade from 10 to 11?
I'm certain that will happen, but it's hard to say with them. They keep changing their minds on things. For example, people who are on 10, who wish to, can pay $61 a month for the first year of updates after end of life. The second year will cost $210 per month. Now, what they did with 8 and 7, they did allow free upgrading for a period of time after end of life. And that was for the people who were reluctant to upgrade, but eventually bit the bullet. So I haven't heard anything official yet, but generally speaking, it usually does work, or it has every time I've tried it. But they can shut that off just like that. So I can't answer that specifically, but I'm certain they will reasonably have the free upgrade for a period of time. I can't tell you how long at the moment. It's one of these things where they want to get people onto 11, and eventually either by the end of this year or early next year, Windows 12 may come out. And because they're on a 3-year cycle, but they have been waiting on releasing Windows 12 because new machines are coming out that have a built-in NPR processor in the CPU chips. And they want to get as much market saturation as possible before they release the 12, because 12 will need a lot of help over a computer that does not have either a discrete graphics card, and I don't know what the specs are needed for a discrete graphics card to handle AI, and there's the new NPR chip inside, some processors, but not necessarily all. And what I may have forgotten to mention, even if you have an Intel core chip, such as an i3, i5, i7, most of the earliest ones were i5, i7 workstation class processors. After the dash, they had a 7, 8, or a 9. But aside from that one issue, not every Intel chip or Ryzen chip may have that pop count type of instruction in the microcode. Anything else? So every day that goes by, there's more changes.
There are more changes. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add to our meeting tonight?
I do have a question.
Okay, I like questions.
Has anybody heard about something called Copilot?
Oh,
And using it, and I've told you about using Copilot.
so Copilot is Microsoft's version of AI software or ChatGPT.
Okay, the reason I had asked because I had found something on what do you call it? Something called How to Geek, and they were talking about how it was supposedly for Windows 10 and had a backdoor connection with Windows 11.
Well, I have, I think it's March's South Suburban video. You might want to look at it.
But I think Tom has it transposed.
Hmm.
Wasn't Copilot developed for Windows 11?
Yes.
And
it
then
was
they,
backdoor.
then they created a backdoor for Windows 10.
Right. Actually, it started with Edge having Copilot on 10, and then they backported Copilot itself onto 10. And there is a Copilot app, but I don't know if that works on 10 or not. I know it works on 11.
The nice thing about Copilot, Tom, is it's connected to, unlike ChatGPT, it's actually interfaced with data from the internet. That is Copilot is. So ChatGPT was locked into the internet based off of, I don't know when they stopped updating it. But that was version 3.5, and then they're up to 4, and I don't know what they're up to now. That is on ChatGPT. But Copilot, I believe, is interfaced directly into the internet. So you could tell Copilot to go shopping for you. And it could go find things.
The particular article I'm looking at is talking about something that you had to have version 10 of Windows,
Right.
and it was 22H2 is what you
Right.
had. And it's released in April 23rd of 2024. It gave you the update, the KB, what is it, 503
Blah, blah, blah.
6923 was the update. You know,
Yes, but I mean, you have to be up to date.
Yes.
22H2 is the last version of 10.
yes.
I have a presentation I did on this in the March meeting.
Well, I wrote down the March meeting, so I'll be looking at it.
The other thing is on a lot of the AIs, you may have 3 options. One is something like creative, one is called balance, and one is called precision. Creative may hallucinate a lot, but it's good if you're trying to create stories for children, like for bedtime. At the same time, too, balance is what a lot of people use. It'll hallucinate some. Precision will have the least amount of hallucination and give you the most accurate answers. That doesn't mean that the answers you get back are 100%. I've gotten 5 or 6 answers back in precision mode for troubleshooting computer problems. And it turned out all of them were either old or obsolete, but one that I didn't want to do if I didn't have to is the one that worked. So it was the last one I did. But AI is everything.
Microsoft has been sort of force feeding the Copilot along with the Edge updates. Whenever you get an update, it gives you another reminder that if you don't have it, you're going to get it.
Well, you also have many applications in Windows 10 and 11 that are already incorporating AI to some extent, and that includes Paint and Paint 3D. So that's already got it in there. Snip and Sketch on, no, wait a minute. It's a different name on 11 has it built into the screen capture program. I don't know if they put it on 10 yet or not. There was scuttlebutt that they were going to. And there's a lot of, if you use Microsoft 365, everything in Microsoft 365's got AI built in. And there's a lot of other applications that are picking up the same thing by other developing businesses. So if you don't like AI, pretty soon you may not have a computer that can go out on the internet without doing something with AI, is about what it amounts to.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but this is the real world. Everything's going AI like you would not believe. If you go out on YouTube, bring up videos about CES 24. Some of them out there are showing you products that you buy, like refrigerators, washers and dryers, all with AI built in. There's just no way of getting around it. Our vehicles, if you got a fairly new vehicle, you got so much computerization, you don't have to have a house. You just have to have a commode and a shower and a microwave installed in your vehicle and live in it because it's a rolling computer. Take it where you want to. You don't have to have a laptop, a smartphone, a tablet. The whole car is nothing but a computer. And when they break down, oh boy, you ought to see what the bill is.
Well, we're getting thunder and lightning over here, so
Yeah, it's coming here.
I'm gonna bug out. I don't know. Sanford, you got thunder and lightning too? Well, maybe he's closing his car windows or whatever. So anyway, all right. I'm gonna take care, guys. See you.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, you got heavy thunder, heavy lightning. I'm out of here.
Okay, nice having you with us.
Well, I'll look over the March meeting again. I saw this article and it didn't connect me with what happened in March, so I had to ask the question.
Well, that's been talked about in many of the meetings. I don't know how many of them you were in at the time, but there's been more and more talk, at least in my South Suburban group. I'm not sure about West Side and TNT, but there's been a fair amount of AI talk. So this is old news, so to speak, because AI has been talked about going back to Sanford's first presentation on the West Side in February of last year.
Well, I understand that AI has been talked about a lot. I understand AI's uses and how it's expanding, taking over.
It's growing at exponential rates.
Yes. And I have no argument with it either. That's the way it's got to be.
Let's put it this way. There's a lot of people who do not like change. Those people who do not like change do not want any kind of a computer, including a smartphone, because it is a computer, because those things are constantly changing. And therefore, they're going to get mad with the darn things. And God knows they might even end up damaging or destroying their machine.
Yeah.
All I can say, you have to learn to roll with the punches. Unless you are writing your own software operating system and programs, then you can do what you want. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of all the other developers.
Okay. Well, I think we should be getting out of this because the storms are starting to come real hard.
Yep. And I have to go move a car and stuff like that. So I am going to end this meeting. And I will say thanks